Hello, friends, and welcome to Automation Nation. In this episode, we're diving into the second chapter of the ISTQB Test Automation Engineer syllabus, covering how to prepare for test automation. We'll explore infrastructure setup, tool selection, and automation strategies to help you to make the right choices on your projects. So, this podcast is AI generated using a notebook LM, making complex topics simple and engaging. Let's break it down efficiently and effortlessly. Let's get started.
All right, get ready because today we are going to really dig deep into test automation engineering using the ISTQB Certified Tester Advanced Level Test Automation Engineering syllabus as like our guide.
Okay.
Think of it as a roadmap to becoming like a real automation expert.
Right.
And trust me, this is not just about like hitting run on a bunch of pre-written tests.
No.
We're going to like really explore how to design software that practically begs to be tested, how to pick the perfect tools for the job, and even navigate all those different testing environments out there without getting lost.
Yeah, it's a journey for sure.
Yeah.
And this syllabus is like having an experienced guide by your side, you know?
Oh, I like that.
What I find really interesting is the emphasis on building the solid foundation for automation.
Okay.
It's not just about picking a fancy tool.
Right.
It's about like baking testability into your software's DNA right from the start.
So it sounds like testability is our starting point.
Yeah.
What exactly does that mean in the real world of software development?
Yeah.
I mean, it can't just be about making things easy for testers, right?
Well, it is about that.
Okay.
But it goes beyond just making life easier for testers.
Okay.
Think of it this way. If your software is designed with testability in mind, you're actually setting yourself up for faster development cycles and higher quality software overall.
Gotcha.
The syllabus breaks it down into three key aspects.
All right.
Observability,
Okay.
controllability, and architecture transparency.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Break those down for me.
Okay.
What makes software truly observable?
Imagine you're troubleshooting a tricky bug,
Uh-huh.
but you're like stumbling around in the dark
Right.
because you can't actually see what's happening inside the system.
Oh, yeah.
That's a lack of observability.
Okay.
Good observability means having robust logging,
Okay.
monitoring tools,
Uh-huh.
and even visual debugging aids built into your application.
Gotcha.
You want to be able to easily track the flow of data,
Yeah.
see the state of different components, and basically have X-ray vision into your software's inner workings.
Okay, X-ray vision sounds pretty useful,
Right.
especially when you're hunting down those elusive bugs.
Totally.
What about controllability?
Yeah.
How does that play into testability?
Controllability is all about being able to manipulate the system's behavior for testing purposes.
Okay.
It's like having a remote control for your software.
I like that.
You want to be able to input specific data,
Uh-huh.
trigger certain events,
Okay.
or even simulate different scenarios without having to jump through hoops.
Oh, okay.
Think about being able to easily switch between different database connections.
Right.
Or toggle certain features on and off for testing.
Okay.
That's the power of controllability.
So far, so good, but what about architecture transparency? That one sounds a bit more, well, abstract.
It is abstract, but it's crucial.
Okay.
Think of it like this. You wouldn't try to navigate a complex city without a map, right?
No.
Architecture transparency is like having a clear, detailed map of your software. I see it's about having well-defined modules, clear documentation,
Yeah.
and even well-commented code.
Right.
This makes it much easier for testers to understand how the system works,
Makes sense.
what to test, and where potential risks might be lurking.
Okay, I'm starting to see how these three pillars of testability really work together to create a more robust and testable system.
Right.
But let's get practical for a moment.
Sure.
The syllabus must have some specific examples of how to actually achieve this testability nirvana, right?
Absolutely. It wouldn't be much of a guide without practical advice.
That's right.
One example is using accessibility identifiers in your code.
Okay.
These are like little labels that allow test tools to easily interact with specific elements in the user interface.
So instead of the test tool like fumbling around trying to find the right button to click,
Yeah,
you can just grab that accessibility identifier and say, there you are.
precisely.
I like it.
It makes automation much more reliable and less prone to errors.
Gotcha.
Another technique is using system environment variables.
Okay.
These are settings that can be adjusted to make testing easier.
Okay.
You could, for instance, have a variable that controls the logging level of the system.
So you could crank up the logging during testing to get more detailed information.
Yep.
Then dial it back down in production.
Exactly.
Clever.
And another technique is using deployment variables.
Okay.
These are similar to system variables,
Uh-huh.
but they are set before the software is deployed.
Ocha.
This can be incredibly useful for configuring things like database connections or setting up external dependencies in a way that simplifies testing.
It sounds like we're talking about building in these little hooks that make testing much smoother and more efficient.
Exactly.
But let's shift gears for a second and talk about the environment where all this testing takes place.
Good point. The environment is crucial.
Right.
And the syllabus highlights that different types of automated tests are best suited for different environments.
Okay.
It's not a one-size-fits-all situation.
Now we're getting to the nitty-gritty.
All right.
What kind of testing environments are we talking about here?
Well, we can start with the local development environment.
Okay.
This is where developers write code and do initial testing.
Okay.
It's their personal sandbox to play around in before they unleash their creations on the world.
Oh, lots of quick tests and experimenting going on at this stage, I imagine.
Exactly.
But once the developer is happy with their code, where does it go next?
Next up is the build environment.
The build environment. Yeah.
This is where the focus shifts to building the software and running basic tests to ensure the build is correct. Continuous integration and continuous delivery, or CI/CD, plays a big role here.
CI/CD. Always sounds so high-tech and efficient.
It is.
I'm guessing automation is king in the build environment?
Absolutely. This is where automation really shines.
Yeah.
Making sure each build is thoroughly tested before it moves on to the next stage.
Okay.
After the build environment, we move on to the integration environment.
Integration. Does that mean we're talking about how different parts of the software work together?
You got it.
Okay.
We're making sure all those pieces of the puzzle fit nicely. And that there are no unexpected conflicts.
Yeah.
Remember those external dependencies we talked about?
Yeah.
This is where we really put them to the test.
And I'm sensing a pattern here.
Okay.
Are we moving up a chain of environments, each with its own specific purpose?
Sharp observation.
Okay.
The next step is the pre-production environment.
Pre-production environment, okay.
This is a critical stage.
Right.
Because it mimics the real-world production environment as closely as possible.
Gotcha.
It's our dress rehearsal before the big opening night.
Oh, I like that.
So we're talking about things like performance testing, security testing,
right,
and making sure the software can handle the real-world load.
So it's our chance to catch those pesky issues that might not have shown up in earlier testing stages.
Exactly.
And then, of course, comes the final stage, the production environment.
Yes.
This is the live system that real users interact with.
That's right.
Wait, hold on. Testing in the live environment.
Yeah.
Isn't that a bit risky?
It can be.
Okay.
But it can also be incredibly valuable.
Right.
We use techniques like canary releases or A/B testing to get real-time feedback on how the system is performing and identify any issues that slip through the cracks.
So even after all that testing in earlier stages,
yeah,
there's still a need to test in the live environment.
Sometimes, yes.
It's like a never-ending quest for quality.
It is, and that highlights the importance of having a well-defined testing strategy.
Right.
That maps the right types of tests to the right environments.
Okay.
But even with the best strategy, we still need the right tools for the job.
Okay, let's talk tools. But how do we even begin to choose the right approach when there are so many automation tools out there?
That's where this syllabus really shines.
Wow.
It emphasizes that you need to start by thoroughly analyzing the system under test.
Okay.
Or suit.
Set. All right.
It's about understanding its unique characteristics, the types of testing you need to perform,
right,
and the resources you have available.
So it's not about jumping on the latest automation bandwagon. It's about being strategic and picking what actually works for your project.
Exactly.
Okay, and the syllabus outlines several key factors to consider. For example, which testing activities do you want to automate?
Right.
Do you want to automate test management, design, generation, execution, or a combination of these?
It depends.
Wait, I thought automation was just about running tests automatically. You can automate other parts of the testing process.
Absolutely.
Wow.
You can automate test case design, test data generation.
Really?
And even your entire testing workflow.
Wow, that's a game changer.
Yeah, it can be.
So besides deciding what to automate, what else do we need to think about when choosing our automation approach?
Well, think about what test levels and types you need to support.
Okay.
Are you focusing on unit testing, integration testing, system testing, or a mix of everything?
Right. A tool that's great for testing a single function might not be the best choice for testing a complex system with multiple interacting components.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
And don't forget about your team's skills and roles.
Right.
If your team is new to automation,
yeah,
you wouldn't want to throw them into the deep end with a super complex tool.
That's like giving a beginner skier a black diamond slope.
You're right.
It wouldn't end well.
Exactly.
Are also practical considerations like tool compatibility with your software.
Yes.
The availability and quality of test data.
Uh-huh.
And those external dependencies we talked about earlier. So it's like a giant puzzle where all the pieces need to fit together perfectly.
That's one way to put it.
The syllabus suggests using a comparison table to evaluate and compare different automation tools.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
This helps you visualize the pros and cons of different tools side by side based on the requirements you've identified.
Exactly.
The trusty comparison table.
Right.
So we're talking about listing all the tools we're considering and scoring them based on features, ease of use, cost, and so on.
Precisely.
Okay.
And the syllabus even provides a helpful list of specific aspects to consider during the evaluation process.
Oh, perfect.
For example, does the tool's language and technology align with your current setup?
Okay.
How about configuration capabilities? Test data management features, reporting capabilities,
Right.
and integration with other tools like your CI/CD pipeline or test management system.
It's all about digging into the details and making sure the tool is a good fit for your specific needs.
It is.
But what about those big picture things like scalability, maintainability, and reliability?
You're absolutely right. The syllabus emphasizes thinking long-term.
Okay.
Will the tool scale as your system grows?
Right.
Is it easy to maintain and update? Is it reliable enough to trust with your crucial testing processes?
So many things to consider. It's almost overwhelming.
I know, right?
Even with all this information, how do we make that final decision about which tool to use?
Well, the syllabus widely points out that the final decision should involve stakeholder approval.
Stakeholder approval, so it's not a solo mission?
No.
It's a team effort.
It is.
Makes sense.
By involving stakeholders, you ensure the chosen tool meets everyone's needs.
Right.
And that you have buy-in from the entire team.
I'm already feeling much more confident about navigating the world of automation.
Good.
But I know there's much more to explore.
We've only just scratched the surface, but you've absorbed a lot already.
Awesome.
This is just the beginning of our deep dive into the fascinating world of test automation engineering.
I'm excited.
Me too.
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground already, from those like foundational pillars of testability to the intricate world of testing environments, and we even dipped our toes into that vast ocean of automation tools out there.
We did.
I'm starting to see how these pieces all fit together to build a solid automation framework.
And we're just getting started.
Exciting.
What's fascinating about test automation is it's not just about the technical aspects, It's about understanding the why behind the what. Like, why are we automating? What are we hoping to achieve with this? And how does it all contribute to creating better software overall?
Yeah, you're right. It is easy to get lost in those technical weeds and forget about that big picture.
Yeah.
So let's step back for a second and recap some of the key takeaways for our listeners, especially those who might be like new to this whole automation thing.
Sounds good. Let's start with the fundamentals. We talked about how crucial it is to design for testability.
Right.
Remember, this isn't something you tack on at the end. It's baked into the development process from the very beginning.
Exactly. And those three pillars of testability, observability, controllability, and architecture transparency.
Right.
They're like the superpowers that make your software testable.
They are.
I especially love that analogy of having X-ray vision into your software's inner workings.
Yeah.
That's what good observability is all about.
Exactly. Those analogies are key to making these concepts stick.
For sure.
We also touched on some practical tips for achieving testability, like using accessibility identifiers, system environment variables, and deployment variables.
Right.
These might seem like small things, but they can make a huge difference in the day-to-day life of a tester.
Oh, absolutely. And then we went on that whirlwind tour of testing environments.
We did.
Starting with that wild west of the local development environment where developers are free to experiment and break things.
Break all the things.
To the more structured build environment where automation takes center stage.
Absolutely.
From there, we journeyed through integration, where we make sure all the pieces of the puzzle fit together.
Right.
To pre-production, that crucial dress rehearsal before going live.
Exactly.
And finally, we even peeked into that live production environment.
We did.
Where testing continues in a more subtle and strategic way.
Yes, it never really ends.
Right. It really is like climbing a mountain.
Yeah.
You need different gear and strategies for each stage of the ascent.
You do.
But no matter what stage you're at, the goal is always the same.
What's that?
To find and fix those pesky bugs before they impact your users.
Exactly. Bugs are the enemy.
They are. Speaking of tools, we explored how to approach that daunting task of selecting the right automation tools and strategies.
It can be daunting.
It can. It's not about picking the shiniest, most expensive tool out there.
Yeah.
It's about finding the one that best fits your needs.
Right, the best tool for the job.
Exactly, and that means analyzing your system, identifying your requirements, and evaluating different tools based on a whole range of factors.
A lot to consider.
It is, and remember, it's not a solo mission.
No, it's not.
Getting stakeholder buy-in is crucial.
Very important.
After all, automation isn't just about automating tasks.
Right.
It's about automating success.
Well said. And that brings us to a crucial point, the human element in all of this.
Right.
We might be talking about tools and technology, but ultimately, it's people who drive the success of any automation effort.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's easy to get caught up in the technical details and forget that automation is ultimately about empowering people.
Exactly.
I like that.
The best automation frameworks are built with people in mind.
Okay.
That means choosing tools that are easy to use and understand.
Right.
Creating processes that are efficient and streamlined. And fostering a culture of collaboration and knowledge sharing. After all, what good is a super sophisticated automation tool if no one on your team knows how to use it?
It's like having a Ferrari but not knowing how to drive a stick shift.
Right.
All that power is useless if you can't harness it effectively.
Exactly. And that leads me to a question I want to pose to our listeners.
Oh, okay. Hit me with it.
With the incredible advancements in artificial intelligence and machine learning, how do you envision test automation evolving in the future?
Ooh, that's a great question to ponder. I can already imagine AI-powered test bots automatically writing and executing tests, analyzing results, and even predicting potential bugs before they happen.
Wow.
It's like having a virtual testing assistant by your side 24/7.
It's an exciting prospect, but I think it's important to remember that human expertise will always be essential.
Right.
We'll always need skilled testers who can understand the nuances of software, design effective test strategies, and ultimately ensure the software we build is high quality and meets users' needs.
So it's not about replacing humans with robots. It's about augmenting human capabilities with the power of AI.
Exactly.
It's about creating a powerful synergy where humans and machines work together to achieve even greater levels of quality and efficiency.
Absolutely. And on that note, I encourage our listeners to embrace a mindset of continuous learning and exploration.
We hope you enjoyed this journey into the world of test automation and that you're feeling inspired to level up your automation skills.
We'll see you next time.
Until then, happy testing, everyone.